Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Randy4short or Randy for short. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I do my sinking funds. So this is part 2 to a sinking funds video that I did a couple months ago. Sorry it's taking me so long to get to part 2, but that video gives you more details, and I'm like doing basically a deep dive into cash envelopes and sinking funds. So check that video out. I'll put it up in the cards so you can check it out, and I'll put it down in the description. But otherwise, this is me showing you how I go about doing my sinking funds. So before we begin, let me zoom in because you guys said that the zoom in is better. So let me zoom in really quick. Okay, so we are going to start with our digital cash envelopes. And just a warning, this might be a little bit of a longer video because I'm trying to give details, and I'm trying to remember everything and not leave anything out, because usually I do this like I don't have anything formal. I made these little templates and forms and things up just for you guys, because I usually just chicken scratch on a piece of paper and I figure mine out that way. But I wanted to present a way, like a structured way for you guys to easily follow along and make your own template if you want to, so that you can use it in the future. So that's what I came up with here. Okay, so starting with digital cash envelopes, I suggest that you already have a list of your monthly expenses done so that you can move on to your digital cash envelopes and your sinking funds. And basically, the difference between the digital cash envelopes, sinking funds, and your monthly expenses is your monthly expenses is basically anything. It's a bill. So this is my January budget. I have all of my monthly expenses listed here. So everything here, somebody sends me a bill or a request for payment, and I have to pay these, or usually something will get turned off. So looking at this is going to be my starting point. So I'm going to start with my income, my monthly income, and our monthly income right now is $5,100. So after I deduct all of my monthly expenses, which right here, it tells me my total is $3,770.15. Remaining, I have $1,329.85 remaining for digital envelopes, sinking funds, anything else that I want to do with our money for that month. So this $1,329.85 is going to be my starting point. So let me move this to the side. Okay, so up here I have a little sticker that says monthly residual income, and that's where I'm going to write this number. So that's going to be my guide for when I'm trying to figure out what cash envelopes to stuff and what sinking funds to fund. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how I set up this little hair. How I set up this this page. So at the top I have categories, cost, term, and monthly amount. So let me get a piece of paper so we can like concentrate on where I am, just so I don't get ahead of myself mostly. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is gas, because we need gas in order to get to work. If we don't get to work, we don't get no money. So I like to do gas first. So from my my budget, I already know that our monthly amount is $220. So I'm going to work this two ways. I'm going to work it from this way, and I'm going to work it from this way. But for this first one, for gas, I'm going to work this spreadsheet or this sheet this way. So say you have your monthly income, you know how much you have left over every month. And say like you don't really know how much it'll cost you every week or every day or whatever. You just know how much it costs you a month in order to get to work. So let's start there. So say I know roughly we spend about $220 on gas right now. So what I'm doing when I'm doing it this way, basically, I'm starting at the top, which is the monthly amount, and I'm working my way down to the details so that I know I can look at the details and the breakdown to see if it makes sense. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So at this very top, I put 220 is the monthly amount, and I like to have gas per week. So let's see. If we do 220 divided by 4 weeks, we have $55. So that means with $55, I need to break it down between me and my husband in order to see if it makes sense for us. Or, it's just a way to analyze whether you can bring down your monthly cost or not. So if I was to, I'm starting with this $55 a week. I know for me in my vehicle, let me show you. I actually adjusted our gas and our food a couple of months ago, back in October, when my husband went part-time. So let me show you what I did. Basically, I know this page is kind of like all over the place, but we're looking at this section right here. So for me, it takes $30 roughly to fill up my gas tank, but $30 a week. But I like to add in a buffer just in case, gas prices fluctuate. In the summer, they're higher. When it's not the summer, they go lower because nobody's really traveling. So I like to build in a buffer just in case of increased gas prices. So I don't have to change stuff throughout the year. I could just stick with this throughout the year and only adjust it at certain times. So $30 to fill up my tank. I add an extra $10 for that gas price increase. So that leaves me with $40 a week to start with. And that's what I was doing for my vehicle. For my husband's vehicle, it usually took about $40 to fill up his tank. I increased it to $50 to have a $10 buffer. So that was $90 a week that we were doing previously before he went part-time. And then that translated to $360 a month. So now that he is part-time, I'm not part-time. I'm still commuting to work. So gas didn't change for me. It's still $30 to fill up plus the $10 buffer. So I'm still doing $40 a week. But my husband, he is now part-time, as I've been saying. So he doesn't drive as much, but he's in school right now. So he does have to drive. So what I did is, instead of giving him $50 a week, what I wanted to do was concentrate on how many times will he need to fill up in a month. So, since it takes about $40 for him to fill up, he really only needs to fill up once a month. So we're going to take that $40, and then I gave him another half a tank, because 40 minus 60 is 20. So I gave him another $20 as a buffer, just in case he needs to do a little bit more driving for the month. So that is our new gas breakdown for each of us. So $40 a week for me, $60 a month for him. So if I break that down, if I break his $60 down into weekly, $60 divided by 4 is 15. So my $40 a week plus his $15 a week gives us $55 a week now. 55 times 4 to get to the month. 55 times 4 is $220. And that is what I wrote right here. So the $55, let me back up. The $220 a month that I just showed you how I got to it, that still makes sense for us now. So I'm still doing $55 a week overall. And the breakdown is still the $40 a week for me and $60 a month for him. So that's how I got to my gas digital envelope. So when I go to do my budget, I do my budget per paycheck. I do a paycheck to paycheck budget. So I'm going to switch this really quick to make this more make sense for me. I showed you the weekly breakdown was $55. So every paycheck is every 2 weeks. So $55 times 2 is $110. So $110 bi-weekly. So the cost is $110 And the term is biweekly. So 110 times 2 gives you that 220 monthly amount. So I'm just showing you guys how to like calculate it in case you want to do this, you know, on your own, or, you know, some people are very visual. So I want to break it down like this to help you guys understand it. So that was the gas where I was working this sheet this way. So now I'm going to move on to groceries and work the sheet this way. So I just want to give you guys options because, you know, different people like different strokes for different folks. So I want to give you options on how you can figure it out. So you can take whatever you need from this video and hopefully it will help you figure out your cash envelopes and your sinking funds in whatever way that you like to do it. So groceries, we're going to go this way. So before I watch Jordan Page from her channel is called Fun Cheaper Free, or it's called Jordan Page. I don't know, just type it in YouTube and I'll also put it in the description box. But it's a video that I watched on how she budgets, and her budget was like for groceries was $100 per person in her family. Her $100 included groceries and any house supplies that they needed. I have a separate sinking fund for our house supplies, so I don't feel the need, and I don't think it's really good for my family to lump in groceries with house supplies because I will spend that house supplies money in a heartbeat. So I like to have mine separate. But I did like the idea of her giving $100 to each family member, starting at $300 if you only have like 2 people in the household. So even if you have 2 people in a household, you still start with $300. So that's what I initially did with my grocery budget because I needed some place to start. So I took her formula and it was just me and my husband to start with. And then our son came along. So it was $300 for me and my son, not me and my son, me and my husband. And then when our son came along, we added $100 to the grocery budget. So we were using $400. That made sense back then, pre-pandemic, but it doesn't really make sense now because of the pandemic, and because my husband is now part-time, so he's home a little bit more. So I needed a different way to come up with my groceries. So bringing this back, this was the food side. So once my husband went part-time, we went from $100 per person to $125 per person, and I just rounded it up. Or I'm sorry, we went from $100, I was doing $100 a week. So that $400, I broke it down per week because that's what she suggested. She, as in Jordan Page, she suggested breaking your food budget down per week. So 4 weeks in a month, that was $100 a week. And then once my husband went part-time, I was like, okay, we'll bump it up just a little bit every week to account for him being at home. We're going to need a little bit more food. So I bumped it up from $100 per week to $125 a week. And then for 4 weeks, that is $500. So that's what I was operating on initially. So you could do it that way. But just in case the weekly like that doesn't work for you, like because you can really justify however much money you put a week and say like, oh, I go to the grocery store and I spend like $250 for just me and my boo, my husband, my lover, whatever you want, just 2 people in a household. So you can easily justify the weekly amount that you spend because that's what you've been spending for so long. It's like, why, like in your mind, since you've been doing it so long and that's what you usually spend, I know in my mind, it would be something like, oh, I can't decrease my grocery budget. There's no way. That's what I usually spend. But it's like, really? Do you really need $250 a week for 2 people in the household? And I'm going to show you a way that I thought of to see if that 250, once broken down, does it make sense? Okay, so for me, I'm going to use what we are currently spending on groceries, which is $500 a month. So I'm going to work it backwards for this top line, but then I'm going to work the detail part this way. So $500 every 2 weeks is $250. So now I'm going to take that $250 every 2 weeks and break it down into, let's actually split this so we can follow along easier. So I'm going to do biweekly and weekly. So biweekly, it's $250. Every week, it's $125. Okay, so now I'm going to split up this this $500 into like a little breakdown to see if what we're doing, if this $500 makes sense. So give me just a second. We're not going to do it with this. I'm going to show you a little breakdown that I did. So when I do $500, I came up with this little total, or this little chart right here, where in this side it says per person, and then I like to add in a buffer. You can also use that buffer as fast food, because like if you're going grocery shopping, unless your family likes to go out to eat like once or twice a week, then you can have this column for fast food. But I usually like to have a buffer because my family goal is to eat at home for the most part. And only if we're feeling like lazy or we didn't get to the grocery store or something like that, will we go out and get fast food. So this is my buffer / fast food. You adjust it to whatever meets your family needs. Before it was just these two columns. So before it was $125 for me and my husband, because I wanted to increase it from $100 because me and my husband eat a little bit more. We're like very tall and very skinny. So I'm like 5'10" and a half, and I'm thin, but I eat a lot. And then my husband is like 6'2" and some change, and he's I'll say he's like thin to average. But either way, the point is both of us eat a lot. So when thinking about it, thinking back to, my single ready to mingle days, when I went to the grocery store, I would spend, on the low end, I would spend about $75. On the high end, I would spend about like $125 to like $150. So I thought $125 for an adult was pretty good. So that's what I gave me and my husband. And then for my son, I wanted to stick with Jordan Page's $100. So that's what I gave him. So those two together, that's $125, and $100, that's $350. So I have $150 to play with. So, and play with, I mean to like break it down in this chart to make it make sense. So for our buffer, I wanted to give $25 to each of us, because if you break that down into fast food prices, like if you go to a fast food, say like out here in Southern California, I like Jack in the Box. So if I go to Jack in the Box and get something on a menu, like a number 10 or whatever, that's going to probably run me about $10 to $12. So typically I'll eat out maybe twice a week if it's like a week that we didn't go grocery shopping, but otherwise I'll like find something around the house. So typically I try not to eat out more than twice a week. So I thought $25 was a good kind of like amount to give each one of us in case we needed to eat out or wanted to eat out during the week. So how I broke it down here is I gave another $25 to each one of us to make up for the fact that we're at home more because of the pandemic. So we're not going out to eat, we're not going and socializing and things like that. We're just at home. So since we're at home, we're probably going to eat even more. So I gave each one of us $25 for that as well. So so all of this adds up to $500, right? So once the pandemic is over and, COVID isn't a thing anymore, and life will never be the same again, but we go back to some kind of semblance of new life where we're back outside, basically is what I'm trying to say. We're back outside and socializing freely. This, for me and my son, this $25 is going to go away. So that's what, basically is what I'm trying to say. Breaking it down like this allows me to adjust it as I need. So once the pandemic is over, me and my son will go back to, just our daily. He goes to daycare, I go to work, we are not going to be home as much. So we won't need as much money in this at home / pandemic column. But my husband will still be at home more because he's part-time and he's in school. So he'll still need that $25. And then we still want the fast food / buffer column. So once the pandemic is over, the food budget that we will be going to, as of right now, what I'm thinking is going to increase to $450. So that's how I'm like breaking it down, so that in the future, if I need to pivot and I need to adjust our groceries budget, I can just come to this little chart and see if it makes sense. So all of that to say that basically this is what we're doing right now. So I'm going to translate this over to here so that I'll have this as my sheet in case I need to make adjustments. And I'll probably put this on the back or washi it in somewhere or rewrite it, whatever. So for me, my groceries right now is going to be $175 a week. And then for my husband, it's going to be also $175 a week. And for our son, his is going to be $150 a week. Oh, I'm sorry, not a week. I'm like, that's a lot. We don't need that much grocery money. That is $175 a month for me, $175 a month for my husband, and $150 a month for our son. So that does break down to $125 a week for the family. Okay, so that makes sense to me. And yeah, it was just another way that I broke down that $125 instead of breaking it down like, oh, this is how much we spend typically in a week. I feel like I have a little bit more control doing it this way and breaking it down to the details to make sure that it makes sense. So $125 a week for a family of 3, I think that's okay. So yeah. So we're going to move on to the next section of my digital cash envelopes, which is diapers. So our son is 2 and he's still in diapers. We are trying to we are just now starting to try and potty train him. Don't know how long it's going to take, but hopefully it won't take like forever, but hey. So what I did here was basically break it down into a monthly budget. So every 2 months, we need to replace his diapers and his wipes. And the pull-ups is kind of new, but I'm going to treat them like diapers. So every 2 months or every other month, we need to replace these things. So, and not even really the wipes, because the wipes last for months, because we get all of these items from Costco. So they come in very large quantities. So the wipes last for like a couple of months. So it's mostly the diapers that we have to replace every other month. And the pull-ups, we're going to follow in the diapers footsteps so that, we'll see if that works out for us. But anyways, a box of diapers costs $35. Pull-ups cost around $35 and wipes cost $20. All of these things from Costco. So if I add that up, that's $90 a month. But I want to do this every 2 months. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that $90 a month into 2. I don't need a calculator for that. It's $45 a month. But the way my budget is set up right now, I want to decrease this to $40 a month. And I think we'll be okay with that. So $40 a month will allow us to get a box of diapers, a box of pull-ups, or 2 things of wipes if we need. So that has actually been working for us. So I want to keep it at $40 every month. So moving on to fund money. So fund money is basically an allowance for each family member. So it's money that we can spend as we want. Our son does get the same amount of money as us. And even though he's 2, I basically put it into his account. And I forgot to say that each one of my digital cash envelopes and my sinking funds have their own account. And I use Q Money to have an account for each digital envelope or sinking fund. I am completely digital. So when I say cash envelopes, just know that I mean digital cash envelopes. I don't have any cash on me. I don't care for cash. Yeah. So I prefer digital when it comes to my money. So if you don't know what Q Money is, the link is always in the description for you to check out. So feel free to do so. But anyways, back to my son's fun money. So I put $50 in his account and I will spend that to get him toys. At his daycare, they do classroom activities. So I mostly spend it on that to buy him stuff. Like if they do parties or Halloween, they want you to bring in a pumpkin. So I'll use it for that. And when it starts to build up, I'll usually get him like a toy or get him something that he needs or that we want him to have. So those are all of my digital cash envelopes, just gas, groceries, diapers, and fun money for us, because that's really all our budget can allow for right now. So I'm going to add this up. So what is this total? So 220 plus 500 plus 40 plus 150. And that's $910. Oops, we can write that a little bit better. That's $910 a month for our digital cash envelopes. So this total is important because now I'm going to take our residual income and I'm going to subtract this amount so that it can be the starting point for our sinking funds. So 1329 spot 85 minus 910. So yeah. So for our sinking funds, we have $419.85 to work with. So I'm going to put this digital cash envelopes to the side and because we're done with this one. Okay, so the long-awaited sinking funds. So how I set this page up is we have categories, our beginning balance, goal, start date, end date, term, number of terms. Oh, I should put an S on that, huh? Number of terms and monthly amount. So for sinking funds, you may not use all of these columns for every single category because it may not be necessary. But let me walk you through everything. So for you guys, if you do it like this, what I like to say is the sinking funds is where you can set your goals and you can write down your dreams. So, and what I mean by that is for your sinking funds, write down as many as you want to. It doesn't matter. Like write down whatever's on your heart, whatever you want to achieve, and just everything. Write everything down that you can think of that you want to save up money for. So if you don't know what a sinking fund is, again, please go back and watch the first parts of this video. It will go more into depth about what like a sinking fund is. So I just want to concentrate on showing you guys how I do my sinking funds. So these are all of my sinking funds. I'll go through them really quick. So house supplies, clothing, toiletries, beauty, car repair maintenance, home repair maintenance, medical premiums, family funds / holidays, Christmas, gifts for family and friends, memberships / subscriptions, financial advisor, tax prep, big ticket. And big ticket is like if we want to save up for like a TV or, new furniture and stuff like that. Just like items with items with some commas in it on the price tag. So that's what big ticket is. Anniversary, birthdays, vacation, car insurance. Oh, I got vacation twice. Shows you how much a vacation I need. Okay, so let's start at the top. So how I'm going to do this, house supplies, I know the beginning balance because, again, I have a digital account, or I have an account for each one of these as well. But I don't feel like logging into the account and writing down like my beginning balance. So once you have written all of your categories down and everything you could think of, you need to go back to this number and figure out which one of these categories is going to get funded. Now you can take this number and divide it up by the number of categories you have and just do it that way. And and you can fund each and every category. That's going to eat away at your budget, and it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be expensive. But I mean, you'll be working on all of these goals at once. So if that's something you want to do, then by all means. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to concentrate on the things that we need in everyday life first. And then I'm going to concentrate on the things that are important to us as like goals. So these are the sinking funds that we are actually going to fund every single month. And that is house supplies. So, and it's based again on this number because that's the amount that we can afford. And also with this number, I don't want to break down this amount over all of the sinking funds because I like to leave a buffer or like some money at the end of the month, if possible, to have as like a miscellaneous or like an unnamed buffer or something like that. So just in case like something unexpected comes up, we'll have some wiggle room in that budget in order to pay for it, or if it's some deal that we want to take advantage of or something like that. Like the point is I don't want to bring this down to zero by splitting up this amount amongst all of my sinking funds. I want to have some type of money left over just in case something comes up during the months that I want to spend, me or my family wants to spend money on. So with that said, for most of these, the only time I'm really going to use this goal, start date, end date, and like the number of turns, like these columns, is basically if I'm trying to figure out how to save up for something. So I'll do that in a minute. So house supplies, again, house supplies is just like your napkins, your cleaning supplies, things like that. So we like to shop at Target, but I love to shop at Target, but that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say that we get our cleaning supplies and stuff like that at Costco because it lasts us for months. So even though this is a small amount, our supplies last us for months, like even years sometimes, like, because we bought some dryer sheets from Costco that has lasted us for like 3 years. And I do laundry. So yeah, I felt like $20 a month is a good amount to replace something that has run out. And that's a good starting point for our house supplies. So, and say in the case that we don't have, like, we just spent a lot of money and I forgot something. We just spent a lot of money at Costco and then I forgot to pick something up at Costco, but our money already ran out, or I only have like $2 left. Then that's when I will go to the dollar store, or, if I needed it right then and there, I would go to the dollar store. But if I could just wait on it, then I would just wait until the next month and then I would buy that thing next month. So you kind of like figure out what it is that you need, look and see what exactly you have in your house. Kind of like estimate how long it'll last, and then figure out your budget from there. So clothing, we're doing $20 because right now I'm not buying any clothes for me or my husband. We're concentrating on our son, who's again 2 years old and he's growing like a weed. So most of our money is going towards him. But mostly when I buy clothes, I found that I'm only buying clothes once the season changes, and then I'll go and I'll buy up a whole bunch of clothes, but I'll buy them kind of like strategically. I'll buy like a little bit of the size that he's in right now, and then like mostly the next size up. So, and then I'll buy like just a little bit of the size above that. So just in case he grows like a weed and he outgrows all of the next size and then he just jumps to the next size after that, we'll have a little bit of something that will hold us over until the next month where we'll have a little bit more money. So I hope that made sense. So $20 a month, I figure is just good enough because, so for like example, I like to spend around like $300 every season on buying him a whole bunch of clothes and shoes and things like that. Side note, his grandparents are very generous, so they do help us out with a lot of the clothes and like toys and things like that. So that does make it easier on our budget. But of course, we still like to get him things that we want him to have, or just like to supplement whatever they buy. So I could say my goal is $300. And then the start date, this is where I'm going to bring in the year at a glance. So the start date, let's say we have 3 months. So if I want to buy him some clothes come springtime, I think spring starts in like late March. So what I'm going to do is a start date. I want to start saving up for this, say on the 1st of June. I mean, not June, of January. And then the end date, I want it to be like sometime before spring starts. So I can go and buy all his clothes and then he'll have all his clothes for spring. So I'm going to say like March 19th is when I want to stop saving. So I'm going to put 3/19. And then for term, by term, I mean like what kind of time are we talking about? Are we talking about every paycheck? Is that what you're counting? Are you counting every week? Are you counting every month? Like, are you counting twice a year? Like, what are you counting in order to save up and like calculate how much money you need? So so the term, what I'm going to count by is the paychecks. So the number of paychecks before my end date. So the number of paychecks is 1, 2, 3, and sorry, I didn't say that, but I circled all of my paydays for 2021 on the yearly calendar. That's what I mostly use it for. Other than that, I don't really have too much of a use for the yearly calendar until my son starts school. So I'll do like daycare closure dates and all that kind of stuff on here, but that's about it. But anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So March 12th is the last payday before March 19th. So I'm going to say 6. And then, term is supposed to be your, what you're counting. So just in case, you you leave this page and you set everything up, and then months later, when you come back to it, it'll make sense why you did what you did. So I'm going to say the term is check, every paycheck. And then the number of terms is, what did I say? I said 6. So 6 paychecks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this goal of $300 divided by the number of terms in order to figure out how much money. I put monthly amount here, but you could put like term / monthly amount just in case you want to count differently. So, but anyways, I'm going to concentrate on the monthly amount because I want to put it in my monthly budget. So $300, I'm going to do 300 divided by 6. So that's $50. So we need $50 per paycheck in order to meet this goal. So $50 per paycheck, and then there's 2 paychecks in a month. So that's 50 times 2, which is $100 a month in order to meet our goal by March. So I already know that was just an example. I already know for me and my family that $20 is about as good as we are going to get. So as far as clothing. So if we need help, my goal is to reach out to the grandparents. So, and if they ain't got it, then we will probably shift around some money, pull from our savings account, because, some way, somehow, our baby is going to stay clothed. So, I mean, it is what it is. But for the monthly amount, we're sticking with $20. So I just want to show you guys that example of how I come up with that. And then toiletries, lotions, soap, things like that, we have a pretty good supply. So I feel like $20 is pretty good to save up in case we run out of something. That'll allow us to go get something. So again, it's just like house supplies. If we run out of something and we can't go to Costco to go get it, then we'll go to Dollar Tree. So beauty, I'm not doing anything Unfortunately, I'm not doing anything with beauty right now. Typically, I'll go get my hair done, my nails done. I'll go get waxed. Um, I'll buy nail polish to do my own toes. I'll get makeup and things like that. But for right now, that's just not in the budget. So I am setting aside $10 though to get my eyebrows done every month. But with this pandemic, y'all already know if you watch my videos, I am struggling to find somebody to do my eyebrows. I don't know how y'all are getting y'all's done because my places are closed down and I'm not about to go into just any old place and let them put stuff on my face or like touch my face. So yeah, right now, beauty, just $10. Car repair and maintenance is the main bulk of what we wanted to fund. And how I came up with that is basically I wanted to take into account everything that has to do with maintaining and owning a car besides the insurance and besides the gas. So for my car, it's leaking oil, so I need to replace the engine oil every um I'll say like I need to buy a 5 quart of engine oil every like 2 of them every quarter. So every 3 months is how much I've typically been going through. And then my car needs an oil change. My husband's car need an oil change. We have to maintain our tires and make sure they're checked and rotated, but we get that done for free because of the place that we bought our tires from. That's just a complimentary service that they do. So for the oil change, or not, sorry, for the engine oil, each one of those 5 quart things costs $30 each. So $30 times 2, because I need 2 1/4. That's $60 a quarter. And then every quarter we like to go get our oil change. So that my oil change is like $70 to $80. And then my husband's oil change is like $80 to $90. And I like to budget on the high end because again, I like to build buffers into whatever we are doing, whether it's cash envelopes or sinking funds. So on the high end, I'll say $90 for my husband's oil change, $80 for my oil change, and then $30, we'll just say like $60 for the quarter for the engine oil. But I like to include a buffer for other things that comes with the like maintaining a car. So we want to take into account that we'll need new tires eventually and, you know, for any type of emergency. So that's why we have that buffer. $100 a month is what I'm doing for my sinking funds. And so far it has worked out pretty well. So that's what we're going to stay with for right there. Home repair and maintenance, we do, our home is new. It's a new build. So it was built in 2019 was when it was finished. We don't really need much. We just need to maintain it. So air filters, then basically if anything breaks down, you know, caulking, that type of stuff to do just like regular maintenance here and there. So I feel like $20 a month for home repair maintenance is good. Now, if something major breaks, then we're going to have to use our emergency fund. But again, this is what our budget allows. Would I like to do more to save up, you know, and just in case our HVAC breaks, or Lord forbid, because that's expensive. Yes, but again, we only have $419.85 to work with for our sinking funds. So medical, if you've been watching my my paycheck to paycheck budgets, anything that's left over at the end of our paycheck goes to our medical, because that is the sinking fund that we are trying to build up right now, actively build up. So we are trying to dump as much money in there as possible. So that is medical. But as you'll see, we're not going to have that much money left over once I calculate all of these monthly expenses. So in order to beef it up even more and not rely on that money that's left over at the end of the month, I do pay yourself first in each and every paycheck budget. So basically when our checks come in, if they're a certain amount, let's just go with round numbers and say $2,000 is all we need to live comfortably, pay all of our bills, get all of our groceries, everything like that. Everything is paid off of $2,000. Now, when our check comes in, and it's $2,500, well, we only need $2,000. So instead of just budgeting on that entire $2,500, what we do is automatically, right when our check comes in, anything over $2,000, anything goes automatically to our sinking funds. So the pay yourself first line is basically what we're using mostly to fund our medical account, in addition to anything that's left over from our paycheck to paycheck budget. So we have two sources of like income or funds that are going to our medical account right now. So that is what we're doing. So that's why I don't have like a line or like an amount to set aside for our medical, because that varies each and every single month. So I'll just put like a star to kind of like designate that that's the sinking fund that we're concentrating on right now. Family fund. We used to have this in our budget when my husband was full-time and we still had, we had more money, but I took it out because that's what our budget dictated that we needed to do. But also too, when the pandemic hit, we weren't going anywhere. So, but lately I found that we do like to rent movies on Vudu. So I have added back in family fund / holidays in order to save up just a little bit of money, so that if we want to rent the occasional video, or we want to go out and get ice cream, or we want to treat ourselves to like a new restaurant or something like that, we can go and do it as a family. So let me go ahead and add up these sinking funds right here so I can see if it actually fits into this this monthly amount. See if we can even afford it. All right, so after we take out all of these sinking funds, we have $219.85. And I'm kind of comfortable with that because, again, in case something comes up, I want to have some money left over, enough to pay for like a small emergency, or just anything that comes up, like a membership subscription that might come up. Put a little bit of money towards our tax prep and then pull the rest of the money out of our savings. So it's just like, I want to keep our sinking funds as small as possible so we can have some wiggle room in order to handle anything that may come up during the month. So before I go, I wanted to just give some tips and maybe tricks of how you could handle these spreadsheets, or not spreadsheets, sorry, these templates, sheets, whatever you want to call them. And you guys see I like stuck that little piece of paper right here so I can keep up with it. But otherwise, I would say if you get to your sinking funds and you have like a somewhat low number like I do, or even lower or whatever, and you're trying to like tweak your sinking funds, some things that you can do to adjust your sinking fund numbers is you can increase the amount of time you give yourself to reach a goal. So that way, let me see. So say, looking at the calendar, if we go back to my clothing example where I gave myself till March to raise $300. Well, if I wanted to, I can adjust that time frame so that my end date is, say, like a month later. And that way I have more paychecks in order to save up for that $300 clothing goal. So that's one way to do, is to increase the amount of time you give yourself to reach a goal. And then the next one would be to increase the amount of money that you're putting aside per paycheck or per term. So like every week or every month or whatever it may be, you can increase that number so you can reach your goal faster. So for example, that same clothing goal, instead of saving up, I think it was $50, I could, if I had it, I would maybe like double that and say I'm putting aside $100 so that it would take me less amount of time to save up that money so that I for sure could hit my goal by March. So that's one way that you can adjust your numbers. And then the last way that I thought of is that you could decrease your goal. So say that $300, I decreased it from $300 to $200, and we just made do with whatever we had, or we could ask the grandparents to chip in that $100 that we're, sacrificing. So that is a couple of ways that you could do your, like, adjust your sinking fund numbers so that you can meet your goals and get the things that you need. And also, instead of doing just like one of each, you could do all of them. You could do a combination of one or two. So it's just up to you to figure out what it is that you need. And then again, so some tips is that, say you've watched this whole video and you just are scared to start, still don't know where to start. My suggestion would be to just pick a monthly number, and like, especially for your cash envelopes, if you don't know how much groceries or gas you need, just pick a number that sounds reasonable, work this sheet backwards. And then once you get to the actual breakdown of how much it would cost per week or per paycheck, see if that makes sense. And if you don't know if it makes sense, so say you never put a budget together ever, just go with those numbers and adjust as you go. So, and with that, treat these as a guide. They're not set in stone. So don't treat it like, you know, this is just, once you make these are your numbers for the rest of the year. They'll never change, anything like that. No, these are just simply a guide, something that help you figure out what to start with, and then just adjust as you need. These are not absolute. It's just somewhere to start so that you can tweak it whenever you need to. So a couple more things about when to adjust. So I would say to revisit these sheets or revisit what you're doing for your cash envelopes or your sinking funds when there's been a major income or expense change. So you lost a job and your income goes down, or say like you buy a house for the first time and you expect your expenses to increase a lot. So that's when I would say is a time you will want to revisit this. And then say you have a major life change. So you have your first child. You want to revisit this because your finances are going to change. I would also say to revisit this when you have a raise, when you get a raise at your job, or if you are self-employed, if you have, like, if you secure a contract or something like that, or, you know, you exceed your sales numbers or something like that, is when I would say you want to revisit this if it seems like that trend is going to continue, because you may want to tweak a couple of cash envelopes or sinking funds that you weren't able to fund or put as much money into it as you initially wanted to. So that would be a good time. And then if none of those things have occurred and it's just, you know, business as usual, and you're going into the new year, no raise has happened, no major life change or anything like that, I'll be surprised if there's like one person out there that 2020 did not affect in some way, shape, or form. But going into 2021, if nothing really, like, finance-wise has changed, then I would just say revisit this like semi-annually or annually. So something in your finances has changed, even if like a bill has gone up or gone down. Just make it a habit to kind of like revisit this semi-annually, or at the very least annually. So I know this video was long, but I wanted to do it in depth so that I could add this to the How to Budget series, and I'll link that in the cards above. The link to the playlist is always in the description. So I hope this video helped you guys. If you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if it feels right, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.